Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your DJ for today, DJ Papa Kim. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our potion, which we're going to talk about the stories of different people around the world. So, are you guys ready to listen? By the way, thank you for tuning in. This is a podcast where you can download this in every iTunes, Google Podcast, and also in the YouTube if you wanted to listen to this anytime and anywhere. So let's start. We have for today, we have four letters that we received from different people, and I think they're quite related to our first literature stories. So let's listen to the four stories. First story we have from the sender Maria Ressa. It says that it is kind of very similar to the Dead Star, so that's why she named herself Maria Ressa. Let's listen into it, everybody. Dear Papa Kim, am I the jerk for wanting to date my male best friend after rejecting his confession and intentionally ignoring all of his text messages? I'll admit I ask a loaded question, a controversial one. I'm 19 years old, and my best friend Nico is 21. We became friends after he dated my cousin 5 years ago. I liked him way before I met my cousin, though my normal days before him were mundane, repetitive, and boring. I don't have friends. I was an outcast, a weirdo, a nerd. Nothing excites me until I saw him at the university's garden. He has those enchanting luminescent eyes and curvaceous eyelashes I would never get tired of seeing. After that scene, my normal days were normal without him. I had a chance to get close to him the day my cousin introduced him to me as her boyfriend, and I was hurt. But rather than soaking my pillows in tears, I was content that he finally knew about me. Their relationship lasted for 4 years and 9 months. They broke up just 5 months ago. He revealed the person for which I had long been wishing, but not in this situation. He admitted that he had fallen in love with me despite the fact that he was taken. He told me he likes my company. He enjoys being with me. At the time, I got overwhelmed by his abrupt revelation, so I ran away. I was completely bottled. I didn't want to waste what we had. I was beginning to think about a lot of what if scenarios. What happens if our relationship ends? Will it also end our friendship? What if he's just confused? Because I was constantly there for him. He misunderstood love for something else, but if he's still madly in love with my cousin but needs some space, I don't want to be hurt, but all I want is to take a risk. I don't want to be locked in the future with my endless overthinking and regrets. Sincerely yours, Maria Ressa. Alright, Maria Ressa, my message for you, first of all, your story, is very. When I'm into your situation, I will also be very confused because it is between friendship and relationship, of course. But if I were you, I will be just really honest here, okay? If I were you, I wouldn't date that guy, even though I love him. Why? I still won't date that guy even though he left the woman that he loved just for you. It sounds very romantic, but that is not acceptable and not reasonable. Let me explain you why. Because this man is currently in a relationship, and I mean he's having a feeling with you, which is very wrong, very inappropriate, very unacceptable. Because ladies and gentlemen, when we love someone, we have to commit for it. We have to give all of our hearts for it. Almost like 75% for your loved one, or maybe 50% for your loved one, 50% for yourself. And if you're going to love another girl, if you're going to love a girl, you should stick and only love one woman that will stay for the rest of your life. Not falling in love into another woman while you're currently in a situation. That is already a red flag, my dear. So imagine your cousin was left by him, even though it's how many years? 4 years and 9 months of relationship, right? And just because of you, I mean, just because he's comfortable with you, he loves you, he is being happy with you, you've let himself fell in love with you, which is very wrong. Because at that moment, I saw that he's really focusing only to the happiness of love, which is really wrong. Because happiness is not all about the feelings that we feel. Happiness isn't all about, I mean, love is not all about the feelings that we feel. Love is not all about the happiness that we feel. But love is also about the problems that we're facing together. Love is also about imperfection that you see into each other, the flaws that you see into each other. It's not all about happiness. Imagine for 4 years, what if that situation also happened to you? You said it. You don't want to be hurt. You don't want to take a risk. So, if you really want to be prevented, because you already seen it, you already saw it, what he did on your cousin is very, very inappropriate and very unacceptable. That is my only advice and my reaction to your letter, Maria Ressa. So it's up on you if you're going to take it or not, if you're listening, however, into this podcast. Anyway, thank you so much, Maria Ressa, for sending your letter. And whatever your decision is, I will still support you. And please live a single love for yourself. So if you either go for it or not, if you either date him or not, and when he left you, you still have a love for yourself. Don't ever forget that. Next one, we have a very similar to the story, and no, a very similar to Plant Like a Bamboo. So there's one is all about country. Are you guys ready? Of course we are. Dear Papa Kim, Filipinos are known for being optimistic despite the odds. Is it awful of me to think that it's a curse? I hate to say, but Filipinos are conditioned to be martyrs and slaves of the toxic system. I am fed with the endless loop of deceit, cruelty, corruption, and incompetency. How can people in power sleep at night while people are suffering from hunger, living in the streets, and dying all because of their greed? When can this evilness stop? I love my countrymen, but I loathe it when they're smiling and telling the world that they are fine, because they are not. And I'm exhausted from witnessing atrocious people treating them like a doormat. They deserve so much better. They are precious, and it's killing me inside that they are not being treated the way they should. Please, for once, my fellows Filipinos out there, stop allowing people to take advantage of your kindness. Acknowledge unfairness and make them accountable for their negligence. Asking for forgiveness doesn't make it okay. They have already asked that 400 times. Do you think they really mean it? The Philippines needs clean intentions, concrete actions, and long-term solutions. Think of the future of our children. Be what the country needs. Wary of watching Filipinos suffer. Concerned citizen of Philippine Republic. Wow. I have to admit that this letter is very timely. So whoever you are, concerned citizen of Philippine Republic, I am really touched with this message because first of all, election is really near. And as what the letter said, that we have to wake up because everybody being resilient, there's nothing wrong with being resilient. But because of the resiliency of the Filipino is being taken advantage by the government, by politicians, because they know that we can carry it, they know that we can smile it, but remember that even though we're smiling doesn't mean that we can really carry it. Some of us were just smiling just to hide the pain. Some of us were smiling just to temporarily forget the problem and not permanently solve the problem. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, for the upcoming election, yes, we Filipinos are pliant like a bamboo. However, if we are really a bamboo, let's see our worth by choosing the right people, the right politician that will only serve the country and that will only serve the citizen. A politician that will not serve the money. Again, I would like to thank the concerned citizen of the Philippine Republic for sending his letter because it is a very awakening letter for all of the Filipinos who's listening to this podcast right now. A very informative and very awakening letter. Thank you so much. Next one, we have a very inspired from our next one, which is a sonnet. Sonnet 18. So let's read it. Oh, by the way, this one is from King David of. Oh, no, no, no. This one. Oh, sorry, guys. I read wrong one. This one is very similar to Psalm 23. So it's from King David of Israel. So let's read it. Dear Papa Kim, have you ever felt being loved by someone without the if or then situation? Without confusion and condition, just pure love. Because I did, and I think it is something to be proud of. Even before I was a king of Israel, I grew up being a shepherd who provides sheep a comfortable life with the best of my ability. As a shepherd, it was my responsibility to ascertain green pastures and quiet waters for my beloved sheep for full convenience. I was once a shepherd, so I know how a shepherd feels towards their sheep. And it gives me a feeling of relief every time I think about who my shepherd is. It gives me the feeling of relief every time I think that he's not just a mere shepherd, but also the creator of this world we live in. I know we have heard this many times, but I will hear again. The devotion I feel for God does not originate from somewhere. It is not something that I just felt one day. It comes from Him. I love because He first loved me. It may not still be enough, but there is a love I'm willing to reciprocate my life as a living sacrifice for Him. Life with God, however, does not have assurance to be light and easy. As a sheep, He has to use His rod and staff for my own good. I am fully aware that God will let me walk through the valley with my own feet. He will let these feet bleed to be hurt. But for sure, He will be by side with every step I am going to take. I remember one time fighting Goliath, the giant warrior of Philistines. I considered the need to face him after mocking us and our God, as opposed to what King Saul and Israelites felt. I was full of faith and courage because I believed that I can overcome everything that seems to be impossible if it's for good and as long as I have His permission. I was the reason for the laughs for a second, but inside those seconds, no one was able to discourage me, for I chose to fight not for anyone. I fight to please my God. Obviously, I was recollecting memories while writing this letter. And looking back, indeed, I have lived a great life. Living a life while receiving unconditional love from someone that needs nothing to give back is the most powerful dream of, right? But why do they refuse to look for God? All my life, I have been wondering how people can live without God. Am I weak for being dependent on someone? Or am I strong for being vulnerable? Nevertheless, I am grateful for being a human who has limitations. Sincerely yours, King David of Israel. Wow. Oh, this letter is very touching. It really touches my heart. Because of course, first of all, a lot of people is forgetting God right now. Why? Because of the challenges that we experience, because of the problems that we face. For example, the COVID-19, a lot of our plans has been scattered, destroyed, stopped, or whatever. We lost a lot of people and we doubted God. We asked God, why is this things happening? Our faith is being, you know, it's slowly fading. But however, if we always see as a shepherd, if we also see the single brightness, the tunnel, we can see or we can understand why God did all of these things. And we all have our own interpretation. I mean, yes, there are people who still refuse God, and we don't want to blame them. And we shouldn't really blame them because it is their beliefs. We all have our own beliefs, and not all people believe in God. But, however, believing in God doesn't make you weak. It will never make you weak. Believing in God doesn't make you a good person, also. Because sometimes people do believe in God, but they don't really apply what they've learned from God. So I think for all the listeners who listen, of course, to me right now, whether you believe or not to God, especially for those people who believe in God, listen to the voice of God. Do not just put it inside of your ears, but deliver is within your heart. Deliver it from your heart to your soul. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing wrong with believing in God. The same as there's nothing wrong with not believing in God. But if you guys are going to ask me, I do believe in God, and it's really overwhelming that sometimes I can feel His presence. Sometimes when I have problem, I know that He's helping me, trying to lift me up, talking to me even though I can hear a voice. But I know that He is helping me, that He loves me. So once again, thank you so much, King David of Israel, for sending this letter. I really appreciate it because I really love God. Okay, next one. We have our last letter. A letter for friendship, which is almost the same with Sonnet 18. So it was sent by Guillermo Crocombe or Crocombe. So let's start. Dear Papa Kim, maybe you don't know me, but I'm my own poet. My sonnets are predominantly about a friend of mine. My only regret is our time is too short. His life is too short. He is so beautiful, so perfect in my eyes. Even a lovely day of summer is nothing to compare to him. The thought of having a future without him makes it hard for me to breathe. He is my most valuable friend. However, the heavens are not fair. Such a good person was diagnosed with cancer. He is so young, frightened of the thought of dying, afraid of the changes in his body, terrified of being forgotten. Thus, I created a sonnet dedicated for him, hoping it could assure him that he is still as lovely as before, that he can be eternal, preserving my memories about him in my sonnet. He can be alive as long as human exists. Is what I'm doing right? Giving him a false sense of assurance. But what can I do? I'm no god. I cannot heal him as a poet. I promise through a sonnet is the only thing I can offer. The promise that he will live in my heart forever. I hope you can give me suggestions on what can I do to comfort him and make him feel loved and happy. Truly yours, Guillermo Crom. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all our listeners right now. I mean, this letter is really, I can really relate to this letter because I have a friend, best friend. Actually, he's my cousin, and I lost him on September 23, 2021. And you know what day today is? It's December 15. Are you guys familiar with Simbang Gabi? We always attend Simbang Gabi every year. And after going to church, we'll eat food inside the mall. Then we go anywhere else to travel. And we always do that. 9 days for the novena. Before Christmas, of course. And while I was walking to the church, I can't stop myself from crying because I miss him. Because it's because it's the first time that I did Sibang Gabi without him, and I really really miss him. Like every corner of the church, I can imagine his face. Can reconnect with the memories of we did in that church. So if you're listening to me, Guillermo, I want you to be honest to your friend. Don't listen to others if you're being dramatic to him or you're being too emotional for him. Just be to yourself for him. Tell him that you love him. Tell him that he's the best. Tell him that he's so handsome. Tell him that you admire him. Always tell it to him while he's still on your side. Because you will regret it if he's no longer by your side. Making a sonnet for your friend isn't wrong, and it will never be wrong. So I also did that. I made a, not specifically a sonnet, but spoken word poetry for him. I dedicated it for him. So when you always read that sonnet, or when I always read my spoken word poetry for him, always reminded me all the memories that we did. It always remind me how good person he is. It always remind me that he was my best friend and will always be my best friend. And if I were you, I will read the poem beside him while he's still alive. Because you don't want to hear that poem beside his coffin on his funeral. So don't be scared. He's your friend. You can comfort him anything that you'll do. Be proud of him. Because once you do that, you will make him happy. And love him at the very best of your life. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry, everyone. I'm getting really emotional, but I just really miss my friend. Anyway, that's the reason why he really likes Sonnet 18. That's really. Ah, by the way, thank you so much once again, Guillermo Crocombe. Anyway, everybody. Ah, that's it for our today's podcast. Thank you so much for the listening. It's almost 30 minutes of this podcast, and I hope that you all learn new things, new stuffs, and yeah, new learnings from the story that is almost the same with our 21st literature. So thank you so much everybody for listening once again. I'm your Papa Kim and I'm sorry for crying. Anyway, I am your Papa Kim and see you in our next podcast. Thank you so much. Goodbye.